Hello there guys and welcome back to my channel for, again, simply a new video. And what we're going to be talking about today is, first of all, I'm going to rattle through some of the big news that obviously came out over the weekend and just before it that I haven't yet managed to speak about on here because I've just been too busy to make videos this weekend really. And what we're going to be talking about after that is the managerial situation, because as Chelsea fans, I think at this point we kind of just have to accept that Maurizio Sarri is going to leave Chelsea. Whether you're happy about that or whether you're unhappy about that like myself, we just have to accept that. Of course, if you're new here to this channel, please do subscribe. I would massively appreciate that. You know, we're almost at 4,500 subscribers. That'd be great if we could hit that and then obviously make our way to 5,000 and obviously grow and grow and grow. That'd be very much appreciated. Of course, share it with your friends and all of that kind of stuff. Drop a like on this video, that'd be great too. And of course, any thoughts you have on anything that I have to say, leave them down in the comment section below. But like I just said, Maurizio Sarri is on his way out of Chelsea. The only possible scenario in which I could still see Maurizio Sarri staying at the club is if Juventus, out of nowhere, get a manager that they actually prefer to Sarri, which would be, apparently anyway, Pep Guardiola or Mauricio Pochettino from Spurs, obviously. Now, I don't see either of those things happening, but if somehow, you know, they manage to pull that off before they obviously, you know, have everything done with Sarri or, you know, have appointed him, basically, that is the only possible way in which I see Sarri staying at the club. And like I say, I just see that as a very unlikely scenario. And that is why I just expect Maurizio Sarri to leave. Now, you know, like I said, before getting into the managerial situation, because what I do want to speak about is which out of the at least possible replacements, out of the replacements that have been mentioned within the media and within, you know, the fan base really, which one, in my opinion, is the best option. Of course, you all know that I would prefer Maurizio Sarri to stay. But like I say, that's not happening. So now even I have to just focus on what is the best option to replace him. And there are a number of options. But before getting into that, obviously, Eden Hazard's move from Chelsea to Real Madrid has been confirmed over the weekend on Friday, whenever it was. I can't even remember. It was a very sad time, especially reading his farewell message that he put out initially on Facebook and then also on Instagram and Twitter and whatever. Unbelievable. What a farewell message. Like, I had tears in my eyes, and it was not out of sadness that he's leaving, because I'm actually happy for him. I'm happy for him that he's getting the move he's always dreamt of. And, you know, I'm happy that we shared 7 beautiful years together with incredible moments. But what made me tear up a little bit was just the pride in reading that he loves us as much as we love him. And that was just great. And of course, I mean, he is, you know, joining Real Madrid for reportedly £88.5 million of an initial fee, which will go up to a fee of roughly 130 million. You know, 130 million pounds, but that only including, you know, add-ons. Like, you know, 180. Can I speak? No, 88.5 million pounds plus add-ons, which add up to roughly 130 million pounds. Now, of course, the way these add-ons and these bonuses work, it will probably never get to 130 million pounds, but it will get to pretty close to it. That's what's been reported anyway, that some of these bonus clauses are very easy and very quick to reach for Hazard at the club. So the fee will most certainly reach over 100 million pounds in the end, which is quite good. And I think Marina Granovskaya did a good job there. So fair play to her. We got a good load of money out of it. Otherwise, I don't think we would have sold him if we didn't get the money that, you know, we wanted. So that is that situation. And all I can really say about Eden Hazard, I thought about making a dedicated video about it, but I didn't have time when it was officially and you know, initially announced. And since then, so many people have spoken about it, and I was like, there's no point. Like, you know, if you want to, you know, see what I had to say on the situation, go over to my Instagram, follow me on there. My recent post is about Hazard. You know, if you want to read that, fair enough, great. But I don't know. All I can really say to him is thank you, and even thank you doesn't do it justice, because it's been 7 great years. We will miss him, not just as a guy, because he is a great guy and a funny guy to see in interviews and whatever, but of course mainly on the pitch, because he is by far our best player. You know, he might not have perfectly suited Maurizio Sarri's system, in my opinion, because he likes to dribble rather than pass, and that is actually not what Sarri wants in his system. But he's still by far our best player. He was so influential. I think he was involved in 49% of our goals in the league campaign. I think it was in the league, because obviously in the Europa League, he didn't actually play that much. And that obviously includes goals and, you know, and assists, and that isn't even assists to assists and key passes and key dribbles and all of that kind of thing. So we will thoroughly miss him. But we can just say thank you, and I wish him all the best. I don't like Real Madrid particularly, but I wish him all the best. I just want to see him happy. I want to see him do well. I want to see him prove the world that he is a lot better than people that don't watch the Premier League think he is. And then another thing that has to be mentioned quickly is that Chelsea have officially appealed the transfer ban, the decision of handing a transfer ban to Chelsea by the FIFA with the CAS, the Court of Arbitration for Sport. What we haven't done, though, interestingly, is ask the CAS to freeze the ban for this summer. So, as it stands, all we're trying to do is appealing to the CAS, basically getting to either reduce the transfer ban from 2 windows to 1 window, or I guess in theory completely get rid of it, but we don't actually believe that that is possible. So, the best case scenario would be to, reduce it from a 2-window ban to a 1-window ban, which would of course be good, because then, with us being banned this summer, we couldn't actually sign players in January already, which would be decent. I don't see that happening, but it would be decent. But we haven't actually asked for the ban to be frozen, which I personally am very happy about. I think it would be silly to do so. We spoke about this on the Attacking 2 podcast in my first episode there as a host. If you haven't checked that out, please do so. The link is down in the description. We spoke about that with Lewis Gebrselassie and obviously my co-host Jimmy Funnell. We spoke about that in depth last week. Tomorrow we will actually record a new episode with Simon Phillips, the big Twitter guy. Most of you will probably know him. We should be recording that tomorrow, and that would go out on Wednesday. So if you do want to see that, be sure to subscribe on YouTube. We also, put them out on iTunes and Spotify and all of that stuff. For that, just follow the Twitter link in the description as well. But yeah, enough of that. Me personally, I'm happy with that decision. Will we get it overturned, or will we get the ban reduced? Like I say, I doubt it, but that is the situation. And at the start, we really were unclear, when the statement by the CES came out that we have appealed. It wasn't 100% certain whether we tried to get the ban frozen over this summer and we'll try to sign players for those 2-3 weeks that we would have had, or whether we're actually trying to just appeal the decision and didn't actually ask for it to be frozen. It came out that was the case, and yeah, I'm fairly happy with that. Let's just wait and see what happens with it, I guess. But I wouldn't expect any miracles. I wouldn't expect Chelsea to be allowed to sign players in January. But now, coming back to the managerial situation, and by the way, thank you to whoever it was on Twitter, because I was like, I want to make a video, but I'm not really 100% sure what, because I don't want to get into the situation again. Yes, I prefer SARRI over everyone else, and then I just speak about that for the whole video, because I've done that, both on my channel, on the podcast, and other places as well. There's no point in me doing that. So what I do want to speak about today, because like I said in the beginning, I just have to accept that SARRI is on his way out. So I have to think about, the replacements. That's as simple as that. And first of all, I'm going to run through the people that I don't want, because we've been linked with a number of, managers. And, there's a couple of them that I just really don't want. First of all, being Nuno Espirito Gomez, Santos it is, I think. Anyway, the Wolves manager. You all know him. And we've been linked with him. And he's done a great job with Wolves. They finished 7th, didn't they? Yes, they did finish 7th, which is unbelievable for them. And their record against the top 6 was incredible. Like, they beat a lot of us, didn't they? Didn't they beat everyone out of the top 6 at least once? They might not have beaten City. I know they beat Liverpool in the cup, but they might not have beaten City. But still, their record against the top 6 was unbelievable. Quite frankly, unbelievable. But their record against the bottom 6, against generally bottom half teams, was bloody awful. And also it would be going back to either 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, which we had on Antonio Conte, which I don't want to see at the club again. But also, if he can't beat bottom 6 sides with Wolves, at all, really. I don't think he's got less points against the bottom 6 with Wolves than he did against the top 6, which is ridiculous. Yes, of course, we have better players, so we would find it a bit easier to break very defensive teams down. But still, imagine that. No. I mean, as much as we love to beat the top 6, you also have to beat the bottom 6. And it's just not what I want at the club. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to get into more detail than that. I just don't want that. It's as simple as that for me. The next one that we've been linked with is Javi Garcia, the current Watford manager. And again, it's one that I just don't think it's the move that we should, make. It's just not what I like. He does try to play decent football, to be fair. He plays in a very interesting Spanish 4-4-2 diamond without wingers, with 2 strikers and then a kind of diamond in midfield. Like I say, a holding one and 2 wide ones that kind of move around centrally and a little bit further wide, and then a central attacking mid. I just, of course he could change the system if he was to come here, but generally that is what he likes to play. And I mean, we have hudson-odoi. I want us to be playing wingers, and Christian Pulisic as well, and then Pedro and Willian. I'm not really too fussed about them playing, but especially about Hudson-Odoi, once he's back from his injury, I want him to play. And then if we don't have wingers, okay, you play him as a second striker, play him as a cam, but still, he is actually a winger, so that would be a bit better to have him play as a winger. So that's why I'm also not a fan of that, and I just don't think he has the mentality right to be joining us. I just don't think that will be a good move. The next one, of course, it has been mentioned about Jose Mourinho. He said, when he was asked, could you ever go back to Chelsea? Could you go back to Chelsea now? He said, let's not talk about that. And then he actually said that, he went back after obviously being sacked by Manchester United and thought about things. He tried to improve his technical staff. He tried to, overthink some of his methods while still sticking to who he is, because who he is got him to where he is, which, you know, of course makes sense. He is one of the most successful managers of all time, of this generation, and you know, he achieved that being who he is. But he may have realized that in the last few years things have changed slightly, and if he still wants to continue being successful, he will have to adapt. And yes, maybe he will do so, but he would still not be my first choice. I think getting Mourinho back a third time could only end in tears yet again. Of course, we could, in theory, be somewhat successful in the meantime, win an FA Cup, win a League Cup, or something like that in the meantime. I could very much see that happening, but I don't think we would drastically improve. I don't think we would go forward. And I also think this whole season with Managerial SARRI would kind of be a waste if we tried this season to get from pragmatic football to more expansive, more attacking football, and then we go back to Mourinho. Even if he changed his style slightly and would be slightly more attacking, would be more willing to play young players, I don't think it would be good, like enough. Like of course, if Mourinho came back, we'll all have, every Chelsea fan has warm feelings towards Mourinho, no matter what happened. No matter what happened, no matter what happened at Manchester United, no matter what happened at the end, of his last Chelsea reign. You know, we'd all have warm feelings towards him. And if the club appointed him, we would, support him. You know, by then it's, done anyway. But it wouldn't be my first choice, in the slightest. Now, who we've also been linked with is obviously Massimiliano Allegri, who, of course, did just leave Juventus Turin, who, Managerial SARRI looks pretty much set to replace at Turin. And we've been linked with him. Some reports said that he's our first choice. That turned out not to be true. I never really believed that. That just would make no sense. And why I don't want him is similar to why I don't want Mourinho back. Just, that he's still a bit of a better manager at this point, I think. He's a very good pragmatic manager. He knows what he's doing tactically. He knows what he's doing defensively for the most part. I mean, he's reached 2 Champions League finals with Juventus. Well, they didn't have Cristiano Ronaldo, and lost to Barcelona once and lost to Real Madrid once. Yes, both of those defeats were pretty clear, but still, they also got to the Champions League semi-final, I think, the year after, the last time they were in the final. So, they got pretty damn close, and he's a good manager. Obviously, winning the league in Italy for Juventus with by far the most money, with by far the best squad, isn't that much of an achievement. But we said that about Conte, and Conte came in and we did incredible things in his first season. So Allegri is a good manager. He's a very good manager, but he's just not what I want. He's just not what our club needs right now, in my opinion, because, again, it would just going from what a waste for SARRI this was now, because we try to be more expansive. We try to move our club from being a pragmatic, a defensive play, style of football at the club to going more attacking, and then we go to Allegri. That would just make absolutely no sense, in my opinion. So, that's why I wouldn't want him. Would it work? It might well work. I mean, with the transfer ban, it will be difficult for any manager. It doesn't matter who comes in. Any manager will struggle. I don't think under any manager we will be able to manage top 4 next season. I just don't see that happening, especially with the Champions League, in there as well. If we didn't have midweek games, or at least if we only had the Europa League, maybe a slightly easier. But with the Champions League, I just don't see us finishing top 4 under any manager, really. But I think we could be somewhat successful on Allegri. It's just not the direction that I want the club to move in. And then, of course, there's Frank Lampard. And quite frankly, for Frank Lampard, as much as I don't want him at the club, he is probably the best option. And don't get me wrong, I don't not want Frank Lampard at the club because he's not good enough. I don't actually think he's good enough yet, but I don't think he's that much. I think he's a better, fit right now than Nuno from Wolves, or Javi Garcia from Watford, or even Mourinho right now. I think it would just make more sense and be better right now. But what I'm worried about is less so him being ready, because, he will just have to adapt to what the situation is. I don't think the club is ready. And I think because of, like I said, I don't think next season will go well under any manager. I'm just worried that whoever the manager is, our board will still not understand that this season was never going to go well, and they will sack whoever is in charge if we don't make top 4. Especially if we don't even make top 6, which wouldn't surprise me either. And I can't have Frank Lampard here for a season and then sacking him midway through. I just can't have that. I'm sorry. I cannot have that. But it is the best option because SARRI is leaving. So saying, I still want SARRI to stay is not really an option anymore. And then I probably think Frank Lampard is the best solution here. I just hope and pray to God that the club and the board understand the situation that we would be in with the transfer ban, with a manager like Frank Lampard, very inexperienced, very young, and definitely not at the top of his managerial game, if you will, just yet. Hopefully we'll get there soon if we do appoint him. I just hope that they understand that and give him time. There's no point getting rid of him after 6 months. I also hope that the fans will understand that things will not go very well under Frank Lampard straight away. I think so anyway. Hopefully I'm wrong and we win the league next season if we appoint him. That'd be beautiful. That'd be great. But, I still think it's the best option. He will bring in the youth. He will bring Jody Morris, probably from Derby County. He will bring him with him. He obviously used to be the youth manager of the under-19s, I think, before he joined Frank Lampard at Derby County last season. So that would be good. We would use the youth a lot more. The football is somewhat similar to Sarri, not the exact same, and it's very difficult to compare the Championship, what he did there with Derby, to a Premier League and the Champions League and stuff. But he's still in a 4-3-3. It is trying to pass it out from the back. It is not long balls. It is not ridiculous, silly things, pragmatic and whatever. Would he play with the Regista? I don't know. Someone said to me, speak about what do we do with Kante and Jorginho. If we don't have Sarri anymore, does Jorginho move up the pitch and does Kante move back? I've spoken about this again on the podcast. If you want to listen to that, me and Lewis especially speak about that, head over to that. So I think it is probably the best option. Not a great option. The best option, in my opinion, is still keeping Sarri, but that doesn't look likely anymore. So I actually think that Frank Lampard looks like is the best option of the available options, if that makes sense. Because, for example, I would prefer Thomas Tuchel from currently PSG and formerly of Borussia Dortmund. I would prefer him to take over from Sarri because I like his footballing ideas. Not that he had a particularly great season at PSG, but I like his progressive thinking. I like the way he thinks football. I like the way he talks football. I like the way he handles things. The way his training is very interesting. I like that. But even though he's had a poor season at PSG, yes, he won the league, but they couldn't even win the treble, I guess, which has kind of been normal for them recently. They lost the French Cup final anyway. I think did win the French League Cup, which is even less important there than it is in England, if I'm not mistaken. But he lost the French Cup final, which obviously isn't great. But he doesn't seem to be in doubt there. He doesn't seem to be any close to being sacked, which I didn't expect, to be fair. So if that changed, I would say try Tuchel. I would like that. But if not Tuchel, it's probably Frank Lampard, and that's probably the best option. I'm not going to go into all this tactical detail. I'm going to go into tactical detail why, what's good about Lampard and what's not so good about Lampard, even though it is very tricky comparing it to the Championship, like I just said a couple of minutes ago. Very difficult to compare because you can't just say, oh, this is what he did at Derby, so he's now going to do it at Chelsea. Completely different players, completely different opponents. You can barely compare it. So it will be tricky. But only once Chelsea appoint a new manager, or I don't know where Sarri stays, then I will speak about that in more depth. Now I just gave you my view as to who I want and as to why I want them. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. I don't know how long this video is. Probably a little bit longer than I wanted it to be yet again. Except last week, so be proud of me. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Of course, like I said at the start, please subscribe to my channel. That would be massively appreciated. We're very close to hitting 4,500 subscribers. So if you are new here, please do subscribe. That'd be great. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it. Drop me, a comment in the comments section below, leaving all of your thoughts that you have on what I just said. Would you prefer anyone over Frank Lampard that I just mentioned? Did I miss anyone that we're linked with? Maybe I have done that. If so, leave it down in the comment section below and just leave me your thoughts. Would Frank Lampard be the best option in your opinion now that Sarri seems to be leaving, or who would you prefer? Like I said, leave it down in the comment section below. Check out my podcast, the Attacking 2 podcast. That is the link to it is down in the description below as well. Thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, and I'll see you when I see you.